أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على Rasul. Praises and glorification are due to Allah, our Supreme Creator. And our Darood and Salam to our Prophet Muhammad Mustafa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Dear respected Imams, elders, dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to Jumu'ah, the most blessed day of the week. We thank Allah that He has instilled in our hearts that we keep away from the dunya and that we hasten towards His remembrance and to express our thanks and gratitude. Today we make dua for Amir Khan, who passed away. Janazah was today. Our Carmina Zubaida Mohammed. One thing that slipped me over the last few weeks is that we lost a few people and we did not, the family did not notify, but it's our duty to remember them. Today, I want to take the opportunity to do so and to remember those from our masjid who sacrificed themselves and are no longer with us. Today, remember Uncle Yaqub from Trinidad, who passed away about 2 months ago. He served briefly as our treasurer. Auntie K, who was with us in the basement when we started. We pray for Uncle Ilham, who is not well. Auntie Jamila, our old Mauzam Uncle Saban, Mr. and Mrs. Samat Ali, Mr. and Mrs. Inshan, Uncle Ayub, Uncle Murshid, our Ustad, young Tariq Zabar, Uncle Ayub, who served as the coordinator at one time, Auntie Zanora, Auntie Noreen, the Ola family, Uncle Idol, Sister Biba Hussein, our Deputy Imam, Uncle Qasim, and so many who have gone before us. We pray Allah bless them, inshallah. We will resume our Thursday night classes from next Thursday at 7 p.m. sharp with Brother Irshad. The tax season is on, and our good friend and brother who is a member here of the Jumu'ah, Brother Safraz Mohid, who has over 30 years in the tax industry, a vast experience. If you have any audit, any issues with the taxes, please see him. We encourage you to file your taxes with a surprise. He's professional and reliable service. The good news is that he's given us 25% for every client that we refer to him. So we encourage you and we ask you that to please support this brother. He's right here in Springfield with vast experience. Our khatib for today is young Raihaan Habibullah. He is the son of our distinguished brother Shaykh Raihaan Habibullah. Young Habibullah, young Raihaan, is a graduate from the Al-Qudra University in Mecca in Arabic language and Islamic studies. We welcome him today. He's doing his first khutbah here. I'm hoping that it's first of many more to come. I'm aware that he will be going back overseas for another few years of studies, and inshallah, we feel very blessed to have these young brothers in our community. So inshallah, when he returns, he has is free to come here. We always welcome him. In welcoming him today, I want to also welcome his parents, his mom, his dad, and his grandfather, and to tell this young man how blessed we all feel to have him pursue what is considered a noble and sacred path, and to walk so gracefully in the footsteps of his beloved father, Nazim Habibullah. So again, we welcome his mom and dad and his grandfather who is here, and we wish him well in his studies, and we thank him for taking the opportunity to be with us here today. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Bismillah Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. We praise Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His favors and His bounties. For He is the one who has given us light and life and has taken us out of darkness. We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the ability to live, to breathe, to see, and to enjoy life with hopes that inshallah we will reach the akhirah. And it's because of these qualities that I say, إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. أما بعد, my dear beloved gathering, we all know people who, when they go through life, they act a little funny. What I mean when I say funny is that we all know people, or we might be guilty of this ourselves, where we speak to somebody or we deal with somebody in our life, it could be close, it could be further, and we deal with this person and we think we're better than these people. Whoever we deal with, we think we're better than them. Or we know someone who acts like this, that whenever you speak to them, they talk to you in a condescending way, or they talk to you in a way that, who are you? You need to listen to me, I don't need to listen to you. And we find this prevalent in our homes, in our community. This funny feeling, this act of thinking you're better than someone else, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, this is arrogance. Arrogance. Al-takabbur. Al-kibar. And arrogance is one of the first sins that we know as mu'mineen. One of the first sins that Iblis, a shaitan, committed was the sin of arrogance. How can I bow down to this person? I'm better than him, I'm made of fire. I can't bow down to him. How can I do that? So arrogance is the essential sin that makes or breaks your iman, my dear beloved brothers and sisters. Arrogance can either make or break your iman and your Islam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us and warned us about arrogance. That arrogance is something that is the embodiment of shaitan. And if you ever want to embody or impersonate the devil, then be arrogant and you will get your wish. What was shaitan when he created that first sin of arrogance? Kana aba. He was stubborn, wastakbara, and he was arrogant. And because of that, Allah made him amongst those who do not believe. Allah cursed him. He's amongst the ungrateful. Aba wastakbara. He was stubborn and arrogant. He thought himself better than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. How many of us are guilty of this? How many of us are guilty of this? Even the great scholar of Islam, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, said that amongst some of the ulama, the sin of shirk, the greatest sin that a mu'min can do, is even sometimes considered less than arrogance. Why? He says that the person who commits shirk, at least that person sometimes worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At least even though he's committing shirk and saying that Allah has a son or a partner, at least sometimes he is still worshipping Allah. But the person with arrogance in his heart, the person who feels he is above someone else, that person never really worships Allah. Because the ibadah that he does is flawed. The iman that he has in his heart is flawed. The thought and the dhikr that escapes his lips. He might be making dhikr every day, but he's an arrogant man. You can't tell that man anything. That man is the person who commits shirk is considered with the ulama sometimes even better than that man who has arrogance. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, even more so, the ayat and the adillah that we have in the Quran speaking about arrogance is some of the most strictest ayat in the Quran. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ عَنْ عِبَادَتِي سَيَدْخُلُونَ جَهَنَّمَ دَاخِرِينَ. سَيَدْخُلُونَ جَهَنَّمَ دَاخِرِينَ. That those who are too arrogant, those who feel that they are better to listen to me, this is what Allah is saying. Those who feel that they are too better to even listen to me and my law and my covenant, سَيَدْخُلُونَ جَهَنَّمَ دَاخِرِينَ. They will be in everlasting abode, and they will be in the fire eternally. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us again in the Quran, ادخلوا أبواب جهنم خالدين فيها. Enter the doors of hellfire. Enter it. Who is he saying this to? ادخلوا أبواب جهنم خالدين فيها فبئس مثوى المتكبرين. Enter, go, as if Allah is welcoming them to Jahannam. Why? Who will be welcomed in Jahannam? People, al-mutakabbirin, people who think they are better than other people, people who feel they are above other people. My dear beloved gathering, as Muslims, as mu'mineen, one of the most important things we live by is humility. One of the most important things we live by is understanding that we are not better than anyone because we're all part of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. One of the things we live by is humility, even when the whole world might seem arrogant. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, when arrogance reaches your heart seizes up. When arrogance reaches into your insides and you start feeling that you might be better than so and so, then know that your heart is being corrupted. That's one of the biggest signs that you have a bad heart, a spiritual heart, because you are arrogant. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from refuge, and I remind myself first and foremost, and I remind all of you, we must stay away from arrogance. How much times do we think that we're better off than someone because our bank account is a lot bigger than someone else's, or our job pays higher, or the car we drive has a bigger engine and more horsepower? These are just some of the things. And people get arrogant. How dare you speak to me like this? Don't you know who I am? You peasant? You poor person? I'm more handsome than you. My beard is longer than you. I have more iman than you. I'm better than you. How can you come to me and correct me on something when I look better than you and my stove is a lot more expensive than your stove? How can that happen? This, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, is arrogance and the dangers of arrogance, because one arrogance leads to a next arrogance and a next arrogance and a next arrogance until the whole soul, the whole ruh, is corrupted. So my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, I ask you, and I remind myself first and foremost, Stay away from arrogance. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he has given us a guide on how to understand arrogance. Because arrogance is one of the greatest spiritual diseases that a Muslim and a mu'min can have. So, to understand the essence of arrogance, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that the arrogant person is someone who will never ever enter Jannah. Jannah is haram for him. Why? Because he is mustakbar. He's arrogant, he's obnoxious, and he is ja'bar. He's obnoxious. When you tell him something, even if it's the truth, and he knows it's the truth, he will not hear it. So there are two types of arrogance from this. Two types of arrogance. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us and reminded us about two people. Two people. And the person, and the two people who is very weird. It's very strange. That's the only way I can really put it. The first person was a drunk. His whole life just drinking, wasting his life away. Drinking bottle after bottle. The other person was a masjid goer. He would pray his salah. His whole life was salah. His whole life was the masjid. And every single day, the guy who would go for salah, this muttaq, this noble person, this pious person, he would tell the drunk guy, hey, put down the bottle. Let's go for salah. Come on, let's pray. Come on, fear Allah, taqullah. Come on, let's pray. Come on. Every single day. Until one day, the drunk guy had enough. Who are you to tell me what to do? You think you're better than me? Who are you to tell me not to drink? Did Allah make you my boss? Did Allah make you my leader? Who are you to tell me what to do? And we find this in our daily lives all the time. If at work or at home or with our spouses. Who are you to tell me what to do? But this is arrogance, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. So the drunkard got mad at the pious man, the man who would go to masjids. And he said, who are you to keep telling me what to do? You're not the boss of me. And this is wrong. This was very, very wrong. Very, very mean-spirited. He was obnoxious, yes. He was a drunk, yes. He should not be drinking. He should not be obnoxious. He should not be there. So he was wrong, yes. But what was even more wrong? The response of the so-called pious person who would go to the masjid every day. Yes, he would go to the masjid every day. Yes, he loved the salah. Yes, salah is the key to Jannah. You want to get to Jannah, maintain your salah. Yes. And he did all those things. But what was his response to the drunkard? What was his response to the drunk guy? You're never, ever going to be forgiven by Allah Azza wa Jal. You're never going to see Jannah. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that when he said that, all of his good deeds, his lifetime of doing ibadah, wiped away. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave that drunkard guy, the guy who was drunk, even though he was obnoxious, even though he didn't even want the reminder. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave the drunkard, but took away the good deeds, took away the hasanat from the so-called pious guy. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to that man, reported by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who are you to tell this servant of mine and be the judge that he will not be forgiven, that he will not enter Jannah? Who are you to play me? Who are you to be judge and jury and executioner? Who are you to be the judge of someone? I am the judge. And because of that small stick of arrogance, because the person was in the right, the pious man was in the right, he tried to do a good thing. Akhi, stop drinking. Let's go to the masjid. Ittaqullah. Fear Allah. But then his response, he played God. And that's something as mu'mineen we never do. We don't play Allah because no one is above anyone else. If you see, it's a difference. If you see someone actively engaging in haram and you go and you try to just convince the person, hey, okay, you know what, this isn't good for you, or this is because of this, and you try, yes, that's our duty. But when you think now that you are better than someone because they're committing a sin and you're not, that's when you know that you have an arrogance problem. That's how the arrogance stems. A few weeks ago, I was in Tangiers, Tanha, in Maghreb, in Morocco. And I was walking around the bazaar, and I was buying a few things, clothes, looking for things, just walking around the bazaar. And this guy, he keeps coming up to me and bothering me. Old, not too old, but you can tell that something is wrong with him. He might be on some type of substance. Something is off with this guy. Like a crackhead type of guy. So he kept pestering me. I left it alone. However, now at the breaking points, this man, he started to get loud because he realized I wasn't going to give him any sadaqah, charity. I don't know what his situation was, but I didn't want to be involved in him. I wanted to just carry on with my business. So he comes up to me, and he just starts screaming, cursing, swearing, everything imaginable you can think of. And I remind you, I don't know this man. I never met this man before. I'm just walking around looking for things to buy, just looking around being a tourist. And he started screaming and cursing and swearing at me. But I made a fatal mistake. I got loud back. I got angry back. And I started to scream and yell at him. And that's where I was wrong. Because that's arrogance, my dear brothers and sisters, and that's why I remind myself first and foremost. Because I wanted to hit this man. I was thinking, how dare this man come up to me? I don't know you, and you're going to try to threaten me? I was thinking about it. Had I only raised my hand or put a finger on that man's head, wouldn't it have been the same thing with those two men, that drunkard and the pious man? Because alhamdulillah, I'm not a drunkard. Alhamdulillah, I'm not a drug user. But that crackhead, that guy would have been way better than me had I resorted to violence, if I had attacked him. Because that's arrogance. He knows he's probably a crackhead. He knows, just like how that drug guy in the hadith knows he was a drunkard. There was no arrogance. There's no hypocrisy. He knows he's wrong. But when you know that you're better than someone, but you lower yourself to that level, you have that arrogance, then that means that you're not better than that person. So that I was thinking about that, and I always remind myself first and foremost, astaghfirullah, to always keep myself humble. How do we keep ourselves humble? We keep ourselves humble by monitoring the situation. We monitor the level of our humility. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, if I had struck that man, what would have happened to me? I'm a foreigner. I don't know anyone there. And I don't know this man that I'm about to go and fight. This is what arrogance leads to, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for salvation from arrogance, salvation from takabbur and kibar. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us safe from the envy and the evil of mankind. There's so many situations in our lives where sometimes we might feel that, we deserve to be a little arrogant. We deserve to feel that, we have a lot of this clout. You know what? Things are going good. Why can't I act like a big shot? But the moment you do that is the moment you have lost, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. One of the main struggles of a mu'min is that they're always battling with their nafs. The nafs meaning their arrogance. I always have to keep it balanced. And we all should try to keep it balanced. Stay away from arrogance, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. Stay away from arrogance. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was the best example of humility in the face of arrogance. And we will get to that shortly, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve us and protect us and make us among the muttaqeen, al-fallahin, والصالحين. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين من كل ذنب استغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف خلق الله سيدنا وحبيبنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, the word for modesty, for humility in Islam is tawadu'. Tawadu'. And this is derived from a three-letter word, a base root word, wada'a. And any person of Arab ethnicity can tell you that wada'a means to put something down. Wada'a hada. Put something down. What this means, at-tawadu', is that humility is putting down your ego, putting down your arrogance, your sense of self-entitlement. You put it down. This is where you get the word tawadu'. And this is something we must implement in our daily lives. How much of us, every single day, we have an issue with our ego? We don't like the way someone told us something. His tone of voice wasn't right the way he said it to me. Don't you know who I am? All of these things. And this is just some of the examples. There are other people that if they know that they're wealthier than someone else, they will go and they will brag about that. And I firsthand experienced this, and it was not nice. It was not good. Who are we as mu'mineen when we feel ourselves better than other people because we have more wealth than them, because we have more cash than them, because we might have a few more degrees than them, or because we went to college and they didn't, or because of this and that? How many of us feel entitlement that we're better than these people? My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, this is a spiritual disease. Arrogance is a spiritual disease. So, my dear brothers and sisters, how do we combat this spiritual disease? Because we spoke so much about the essence of arrogance, about the arrogant person, Jannah is haram for him. The arrogant person, nothing good will ever happen to his heart. His heart is hard. He's arrogant. The arrogant person, when you're around them, you start to feel arrogant. You start to mimic that behavior because it's a contagious spiritual disease. We spoke about this. Now, how do we remedy it? What's the ilaj? What's the remedy? My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us many things about how to remedy this problem, but he didn't have to. He did not have to say a single hadith about this topic. Why? Because this topic is so important, yet so simple. All you have to do to remedy this problem is look at Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam himself and how he acted. What did Aisha radiallahu anha say? What did she say? He said that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he did not order me around the house. He would tie his own shoe. When there was a hole in his slipper, he would fix that slipper. When there was a problem in the house, he would fix the problem. He would not delegate it to Aisha or one of his wives. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Anas ibn Malik said, radiallahu anhu, that whenever we went and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was coming and we were in a group, we would all stand. But Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did not like that. He did not like that because he did not want that to feel special out of his humility and because of his fear of arrogance. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when they were in Medina and he was accepting visitors from other lands, non-Muslims, delegations. And the delegations would come to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If they would come to the Sahaba and ask, where is the Prophet? Because they don't know who the Prophet is. They don't know who the Prophet is. They can't distinguish between Umar and Abu Bakr and the Prophet. Why? Whenever you go somewhere, you know who the boss is. Whenever you go to a country, you know who that king is. Whenever you go to anywhere, you know who the mayors or the big person in charge is. Obviously, the big person in charge was Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But he was so pious, so humble, that the delegations did not even know who he was. They would ask, where is the Prophet? and the Prophet is right there sitting down. This is his piety, his level of piety, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. So you want a remedy? First and foremost, just like someone who has a heart disease or diabetes, they check their sugar levels, check your arrogance level, check your humility level. No one can play doctor for you when it comes to a spiritual disease. No imam can save you. No sheikh can save you. Only you can save yourself. Because a sheikh and an imam cannot control your level of arrogance. Only you can control your level of arrogance. Only you can make the call to say, you know what? I am not better than anyone. You're not putting yourself down. Understand what I'm saying? Don't put yourself down. Don't be depressed. But understand that we are not better than other of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. We must be humble. We must be pious. When Musa alayhi salam proclaimed to his people, I am the most knowledgeable person on earth. And he was. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Musa so much knowledge and wisdom. But what happened? There was a little tiny speck of arrogance. A little tiny speck of arrogance. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed and sent Angel Jibreel alayhi salam. And what did Angel Jibreel alayhi salam say to Musa alayhi salam? Oh Musa, you are not the most knowledgeable person in this world. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a servant and he possesses even more knowledge than you. This wasn't a punishment, but this was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's way of showing his prophet Musa alayhi salam, be humble, beware of arrogance. When Sulaiman alayhi salam, when he was sitting on his throne and he thought to himself that he had knowledge of all things, but then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a little hudhud, a little sparrow to him. And what did that little hudhud say to Sulaiman alayhi salam? Oh Sulaiman, you can control the wind. You have power over the jinns. But I'm coming to you from a place you do not know of. And I come to you with news that you have never heard before. And then so and so such begins the story of the Queen of Sab'a and Sulaiman alayhi salam. But why did this hudhud come to Sulaiman? As a warning, don't be arrogant. Because when Sulaiman was sitting on his throne, proclaiming that he knows and has knowledge of all these things, there was a little speck of arrogance. And that little speck of arrogance, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that no one will ever enter Jannah, and he has a speck of arrogance in his heart. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, this is how serious this spiritual disease is. You want to go to Jannah, take away the arrogance from your heart. Look to the Anbiya, look to the Ulul Azm, look to the examples of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ حَوْنًا. The people my believers, the true successful people, they walk in this earth. And how do they walk in this earth? Do they walk on this earth with pride, with boastfulness, thinking they're better than this and that, thinking she's better than this or he's better than that? No. وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ حَوْنًا. They walk with ease. They walk with humility. They walk with piety. They do not believe that they are better than anyone else. And because they believe that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make them better than anyone else on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Because of their arrogance, because of their humility, because of their lack and their fear of arrogance. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam. And when someone goes and they argue with them, what do they say? When someone goes and they get hot and heated with them, what do they say? They say salam, peace. Why? Because they have reached a level of taqwa, a level of iman that transcends the levels of iman, in which they have forgotten all of the arrogance. And once you emit and throw away arrogance from your lives, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, then look at how your life changes. You'll never see the nur in an arrogant man's face, but you will always see the light in someone who is pious and humble. Even when it looks like the room is against that person. But if he is humble and he is the right person in that room, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we all have our own personal opinions, our own personal ways of looking at things. It could stem from traditional, it could stem from our culture, from back home, in Guyana or Trinidad or Yemen or anywhere, or Pakistan. It could be that. But my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, stay away from arrogance. Stay away from arrogance. Just because we have just because we have different opinions, does not mean we're always right. If we know the truth, and we hear the truth, but we reject the truth because we're not the ones saying it, then we have a problem. Then we are literally emulating shaitan. We are literally copying shaitan. And we don't want that, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. Let us take the examples of the Ulul Azm. Let us take the example of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the Sahaba. May we be amongst those people who, when we walk in this earth and we live our lives, we do that with piety and with taqwa and with humility. We do not do it with arrogance. We do not ever, ever, ever feel we are above someone else, no matter our stature or our status, or no matter how high or how low. What matters is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will judge us. All of these things I've listed are so important. Our salah, our qiyam, our siyam, our fasting, which we will be doing soon, inshallah. All of these things are so important. But the number one thing that will get and assure a Muslim Jannatul Firdaus is to not have arrogance, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. We want to be amongst those people who walk among the world. And when they walk around the world, when they walk on the earth, you see the nur, you see the light, you see the level of iman in them. The way they treat people, the way they speak, their mannerism, the way they talk, their body language, all of these things is real and it happens, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, I advise myself one last time, do not be arrogant. If you have an arrogance problem, if you have done what I reminded myself first and foremost and you to do, which is to analyze yourself, to monitor yourself, and you find you have an arrogance problem, then I have only 2 or 3 more remedies for you. Number 1, Quran. Have a relationship with the Quran and your arrogance will go away. Allah has revealed to us a book that transcends and encompasses every single thing. The Quran al-Kareem. Have a relationship with the Quran al-Kareem. Number 2, and this ties to number 1, Kathratul dhikr. Kathratul dhikr. Have the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the salawat of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam on the tips of your tongues. فَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةٌ ضَنْكًا. Whoever goes away from remembering me will have a miserable life. And that also relates and ties into arrogance. Because if you're an arrogant person, you're not making dhikr. If you're an arrogant person, you're not reading the Quran. So if you're an arrogant person, you will have a miserable life. La samahullah. We don't want that, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. Number 3, and this is the last point. Dua. Dua, dua, dua. If you are arrogant, you will not be making dua. So at least try a little bit to make dua. And the company we keep, the amount, the people we surround ourselves with. The other day, a friend told me, hey, I want to meet up with you, I want to have dinner with you, but our other mutual friend, I don't want him to come. And I said, why? What's wrong with him? What's going on? Is there an issue or something? We're all friends. He said, no, I just don't want to deal with that guy. So I said, why? What's wrong, man? Come on, we all know each other. Let's go get some dinner or something. And he said, Raihaan, when I'm around that person, I don't feel right after I leave him. When I'm around him, my heart tends to tense up. When I'm around him, I feel like angry. I don't feel right. I don't feel like my mental health is really sound after I leave his company. How many of us have company like that and friends like that in our lives who, if we leave their company, We don't feel that right. We don't feel that right at all. So I remind myself, first and foremost, watch the company you keep. If you are around arrogant people, then of course you're going to be arrogant. But if you are around people who are humble, people who don't think they're better than other people, then that's exactly what you will emulate, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. O Muslims, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us, and He will continue to bless us as long as we are firm upon His religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us, as He has commanded the angels, عباد إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم واذكروه يشكركم ولنعم الله تعالى أكبر إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. أقيم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي